Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Meg, your favorite fashion tutor, committed to showing you easy ways to cut and sew. So if you're yet to subscribe to this channel, kindly do so right away and click on the notification bell so that each time I upload a new video, you would be the first person to know. So today we want to learn how to cut a 360 degrees flare. Now, a 360 degrees flare can be attached to different parts of our outfits. It is movable, okay? You can attach it to the sleeve, you can attach it to the waist area, you can attach it to the skirts, okay, the down parts of your skirts, anywhere at all. This flare can assume these positions. So it is important that you know how to draft a 360 degrees flare. Okay, so what are the measurements you need when you want to draft a 360 degrees flare? You need the circumference of the place where you want to attach the flare, whether the sleeve area, the waist, or at the hem of the skirt, the down part of your skirt or of your gown or whatever. You need to measure around the part where you want to attach the flare. Okay, so if it is your waist area, for example, you want to attach it to the half length of your blouse, okay, you need to measure around the waist circumference plus the zipper allowance. Okay, the waist circumference plus your zipper allowance. So in today's class, I'm going to be using a pattern paper. So whatever it is we do here is what you should repeat in your on your fabric. Of course, the same thing. Okay, so I'll be adding my allowances and all of that. So it's assumed that this is my fabric, and I'm working with a smaller measurement because I have a small pattern paper to work with. Okay, all you need to do is to get the tips. Okay, you can once you get it here, you can work on any measurement. Okay, so like I said, you need the circumference. So in this case, let's say we want to attach this flare to the waist circumference. So you need your waist circumference plus the zipper allowance, and also the second thing you need is the length of the flare. The length of the flare. Okay, so in this case, we are working with a waist measurement of 12 inches plus the zipper. Let's assume that I've added my zipper allowance already. So the waist circumference plus zipper allowance is 12 inches. Now the length of this flare, plus the hemming allowance. Okay, if you want to turn with lining, or you want to fold, or you want to weave it, whatever you want to do, you need to add your hemming allowance. So the length of this particular flare with the hemming allowance is 3 inches. Okay, the waist circumference plus zipper allowance is 12 inches. The length of the flare plus the hemming allowance and all allowances and the allowance to join. You need to also consider the allowance if you're going to join the flare. You know, if it's, for example, for this particular case, we want to attach this flare to around the waist. So you need to add the allowance you would use in joining the flare to the half length, and also the allowance you will use in folding at the down. Okay, so in this case, because I'm working with a smaller pattern, it is assumed that I have added all the necessary allowances. So it now amounts to length 3 inches. So we are working with a length of 3 inches. Okay, now in drafting a circle, we have a constant figure you need to memorize. Okay, whether you're drafting a 360 degrees, a 720 degrees, or a 1080 degrees, you need to memorize this value I'm going to call out now, and it is 6.28. 6.28. That is the value you need to memorize. 6.28. Now, we said earlier that our waist circumference is 12 inches. okay, is 12 inches. Now, before you fold your fabric, you need to make sure that the fabric you have is enough for the flare you want to cut. There is no need guessing. There is no need folding and unfolding, folding again until you get it right. No, you can get it right from the calculation. So I'll be showing that to us here in this class. Okay, so our waist circumference is 12 inches. The length of this flare plus all the allowances, 3 inches. Okay, the constant value to get a circle is 6.28. Okay, now what do you want to do? You need to divide the 12 inches by 6.28. The circumference of the waist, divide by 6.28. So 12 inches divided by 6.28 is 1.9. 1.9. I can decide to round up. So when I round up, I'll be having 2 inches. Okay, so I'm working with a value of 2 inches. How did I arrive at 2 inches? I said the waist circumference 12 inches divided by 6.28, that gave us 1.9. So I decided to round up, and that amounts to 2 inches. Now we have 2 inches and we have the length to be 3 inches. Now, how do you know the amount of fabric to fold? How do you know the amount of fabric to fold? You want to add up the value you got. Please pay attention to this part. You want to add up the value you got when you divided by 6.28 with the length of the flare. So in this case, we got 2 inches after rounding up, plus the length of the flare, 3 inches, that amounted to 5 inches. So as I fold, I am bearing in mind that I need 5 inches. So yours should be more because you'll be working with your own measurements, okay? So you need to consider your own measurements or your client's measurements, okay? So 5 inches is what we are working with. Now, how do you fold? How do you fold your fabric? How do you fold your fabric? I'm going to be showing us something. You want to fold from one selvage end to the other. Now, when you pick up your fabric, the selvage end is the part that has the factory label. That's the selvage end. The part that has the factory label. For some fabric, they don't write the fabric label. Like all this, some fabrics, you might not see a name written, but you will know that it is a selvage end. So it's usually the part that has the factory label, the part that they usually measure for you if you want to buy in yardage or in trousers length. Okay, so that's the part you want to fold. You want to fold from one selvage end to the other selvage end. So I'll show us that right away. So let's assume that on this pattern paper, here is my selvage end. I wrote SE, and this down part is also the selvage end, SE. Okay, so I said we are going to be folding from one selvage end to another selvage end. So you want to fold over like so. Remember that we are cutting 360, a full circle. So you want to fold over like this. Okay, so you're going to fold like this the first time, then you fold again like this. Okay, so we folded from one selvage end to the other like so, and we want to fold over like this also. So by the time you're done folding, you will have 4 pieces. Okay, let's count. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you have four layers. Okay, now after folding, you would notice that the uncut part, you will have an uncut part, and you also have an open part like this. Like this part is open. This part is open. Why this part is not open? Okay, the part that is not open is the part that you want to start taking your measurements. Remember the 5 inches. So you want to measure and make sure that you have enough. Okay, so if I measure from this beginning point to this ending point, I want to make sure I have 5 inches. Remember how we got 5 inches? Okay, so when I place my tape rule, I have 5.1, so it's even more than 5 inches, so I'm okay. It is safer this way. And when I come to this down part, I notice that I also have more than 5 inches. Okay, so I have here 6.2, so it is safer like this. So that is how to determine. So if I didn't have enough, if I needed like 10 inches on this part, it won't be enough. I have to get a bigger pattern paper, or you have to get a bigger fabric. But in this case, we have exactly what we want, even more. Okay, so now that we have folded correctly, the next thing we want to do is to remember the 2 inches. That's our waist circumference divided by 6.8 gave us 1.9. We round off, and that gave us 2 inches. Now you want to place your tape. This is like an angle, the uncut part. You want to place your tape from this point here. Hope you can see. From this point here, this angle point here, you want to place your tape, and you want to mark at 2 inches. Okay, on this side. So I have my 2 inches. Then at this other part here, this uncut part, you want to place your tape also, and you want to mark at 2 inches. Okay, so I have my mark at 2 inches. So I would also mark at different points so that I can draw a semicircle. So from this point also, I want to bring it downward, and I want to mark at 2 inches. So just mark at different points. The aim is to get a semicircle. So I'm just marking along like so. Okay, so once you think you're okay, you can then connect the points together. So here is what we have. So I'll be connecting this point together with a smooth curve. Yes, so this is the first thing you want to do. Now, the second thing you want to do now, after you must have gotten this first circle, is to measure out your length. Remember, you should add your allowances, your end allowances, and the joining allowance. Okay, so we said our length is 3 inches. So from this down part, you can either measure from this down part, from this place, from this point here. You can measure 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches, or you can begin from this point here and measure down 5 inches. So I'll be doing it that way. So from this point here, I'm going to measure 5 inches. Okay, and just make a mark. I'll make a mark at 5 inches, and I'll just take it round like so. Okay, hope you know how we got this 5 inches, so don't get confused, please. So 5 inches, 5 inches. On this straight part also, I mark 5 inches. So you want to make sure you have enough points so that when you're connecting them together, you would have a smooth shape, a smooth circle. Okay, so I'm just marking 5 inches at various intervals. Okay, so 5 inches. So now I'm going to be connecting these points together. So here is my point. So I'll just connect them. This is the length of my flare. Okay, so whether you measure from here 5 inches or from here 3 inches is still the same thing. Because if I place my tape here now, you see I have 3 inches here. So it's the same thing whether it is from this top part or from this down part. So now we have our shape now. So the next thing is to cut out. The next thing is to cut out. So now we are going to be cutting out. Now let me mention something quickly. Let's assume that you want to do pattern drafting. You know, on patterns, we don't add allowances. But in this case, I added allowances because I assumed that this is my fabric. But let's assume that you want to actually follow the principle of pattern drafting, which means that you will not add any allowance. You will just mark your exact length. It is when you are transferring to your fabric, you will now add the half an inch to the hem area and the half an inch to the top area to join. So if you are following the principle of pattern drafting, which means you want to transfer this pattern to your fabric, you can cut exactly on this line here. You can cut exactly on this line. You know why? When you pick up, after cutting out, when you place your fabric, you will, from where you cut out here, you will still step up by half an inch for the allowance. So it would not still be too wide. Because many times I observe that when you cut exactly on the line, on your fabric directly, when you open up, it tends to be too wide. You get more than you bargained for. Let's assume your waist circumference was 26. By the time you cut exactly on the line, if you are cutting directly on your fabric, you might be getting 27 or more than 26. So if you don't want any excess at all that you may end up cutting out or pleating, if you don't want any excess, when cutting directly on your fabric, please pay attention. You want to step up by half an inch from this line. You want to step up by half an inch from this first line. That one now serves as the allowance. So when you sew, it comes back to this point. Okay, but if you are doing pattern drafting, you can cut directly on this line. So when you put on your fabric to trace out, you now add the half an inch. Okay, but if you don't mind the excess, you can cut it out, you can pleat it, then you don't need to pay attention to what I said in the past minutes. Just cut out. Okay, so this is how to draft a 360 degrees flare. So right now, let's cut out. So I will not be cutting exactly on this line. I'll be stepping up, or better still, I'll just cut. I'll cut exactly, but I already explained to us what you should expect if you cut exactly on the line, if you're tracing directly on your fabric. Okay, so you can actually experiment with it. Okay, so here I'm cutting the first circle, the first semicircle. So you see, we have cut it out, and here is how it is. Okay, so we are going to cut the length now. So just cut the length. Okay, so I'm just cutting the length, and I'll just cut through like so. Yes, so this is what we have. So when I open up now, I will have something like this. You see, it is still together. So you can cut out any of these parts. You can cut open rather. You can cut open this part, or you cut open this part. Whichever parts you can cut open. So let's just cut open this part here. Yes, so this becomes our 360 degrees flare. Here is the midpoint. You can notch it. Okay, so it is this midpoint you will put in the center front of your half block. Then this part here goes to the zipper area. Okay, so this is how to achieve a 360 degrees flare. So I hope you got value. I hope you learned something. Feel free to drop your questions, drop a comment, and don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see us in the next video. Once again, my name is Meg, your favorite fashion tutor. I am committed to showing you easy ways to cut and sew. So until we see in the next class, remain blessed.